Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dynamic Duo podcast. I am Travis Snell, and it is a Dynamic 1.0 today. I don't know. I could think of another name, but it's kind of like GeekVerse. You know, it's like there's starts the GeekVerse, and it's all under the GeekVerse umbrella. The same thing as Dynamic Duo. It's all under the umbrella. I'm Travis Snell, as I said, and we're here again at the second monthly annual Top Comic Books of Blood Month. This month is going to be July 2016. So I did it last month. Talked, God, what I talk about? Talk about some Wonder Woman, talk about some Flash, stuff like that. If you're just tuning in for the first time, what I do is I pick 5 of my favorite comic books, or some that are, I don't know, newer, things like that. Like, for example, this week I picked Titans Rebirth #1 as one of them. So I like to pick ones that, they might not necessarily be the best ones. I might have read ones that are better, but I like to read ones that I really, really enjoy, or ones that are the first of a series. So I could tell you, hey, you should read this, you shouldn't read this. It's a good starting point. If I'm talking about middle of arcs, I try to find something. Like today I'm going to be talking about Civil War issues 3 and 4. They're in the middle, and I'm not going to talk about it to the very end. Same thing as like Moon Knight. I'm not talking about Moon Knight today. Next month, or like this month, but whatever, the next time you hear me, Moon Knight 5, which will be the last issue, excuse me, the last issue of the Moon Knight miniseries, that's when I'll be talking about. So I like to try and talk about it at starting points, middle points, end points, somewhere you could get in, or something. If I talk about spoilers, it's not too bad, and if they are, I always tell you. But yeah, no, I said this last time, I want to talk more about comic books. I love comic books. And yeah, last month it was one of our biggest episodes for Dynamic Duo, so I thank you for that. I had a couple people actually contact me and say that they like me talking about comic books, that there's not too many shows out there. And I don't know, I think there is. I'm not trying to promote other people, but there is. Maybe it's just hard to find, and maybe they just don't promote them as well. I listen to a few, but I actually don't listen to them that much, because, I don't know, sometimes it feels like you do have to fully read the comics when they're talking about. They're getting in depth of them, where I just kind of break it down. I do go a little in depth, but I just try to break it down, your major plot point, things I liked, things I didn't, and try not to spoil it, because you can still go read it, things like that. So yeah, no, so I think this will be a monthly thing. Comics are booming right now, between movies and video games and just comics alone. Marvel just did their all new and all different, and now they're getting new Marvel Now, which is like, it's not a reboot, but it's another like huge thing. And DC is going through the Rebirth, which is not a reboot, but it's a huge thing, so it's a good time. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat today. It's a good time to jump on. I said this last time, there's a comic out there for you everywhere. Maybe you like the new Scooby-Doo. I don't know. If you want me to read it, sure, I could. So, and same thing, I'll take suggestions. If there's anything here you want me to read, or you would like me to review, or like to talk about, let me know. I'll read it and see if it's worth talking about. Even then, I'd make a quick little side note like I did with Moon Knight and stuff like that. And so yeah, there's ones I'm not sure I'm going to be reading next month. There's a lot to pick one. I know for sure All-Star Batman's going to be on this top 5 list, because I'm huge Scott Snyder fanboy, huge fan. I think he's one of the best writers of the past decade. I think him and Capullo's run in Batman is going to go down as one of the best ever. I know it's already hailed as being great, but I think it's one of these that 10 years from now, it's going to be hailed hugely. It just hailed in such good light. But we'll talk about that next month. I could talk a lot about Scott Snyder, and I think we will when All-Star Batman, because that looks interesting. So, speaking of Batman, let's start with DC. So, if you didn't listen to last month's, I picked 5. So, I picked 2 Marvel, 2 DC, and the third one, or I guess the 5th one, is just a random one. I don't read Dark Horse that much, but something like that. Might pick a Star Wars, might pick, like I said, if someone really wanted me to read the new Scooby-Doo, sure. So, excuse me again, so sorry. Yeah, so we'll start with DC this month. I picked 2 DC, so a little spoiler there, but I picked 2 DC. And speaking of Batman, we'll start with Nightwing. Now, I wasn't sure which one I was going to put on here, because Nightwing Rebirth and issue number 1 of Nightwing started at the same time. So I've kind of lumped them together. There's not going to be much spoilery. I'll talk about Nightwing in whole, but the Nightwing Rebirth, I have a few notes here that I put down and I'll refer back to them, but overall, it was all right, where the issue number 1 I found was a lot better. I'm not sure if the writers were just getting in the swing of things, but the Rebirth one, to me, it was a little cartoony, and the big thing was, like, the humor wasn't really hitting with me, and what was the big thing? I can't remember the particular scenes. I'm trying not to spoil it, but there's particular scenes with Damian and Dick, and they looked very generic. Like, they looked very identical. Where even in the next issue, they looked a bit different. So I'm not sure what was it. They're just getting to handle things, getting used to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just maybe I have to reread it. I only read it the one time, but it didn't leave a big lasting impact on me. The Rebirth one. I'll get to issue number 1 in a second. And I was kind of disappointed because I really like Nightwing. Nightwing to me has always been a great character. Or I'd say Dick Grayson, I guess, overall has been a dick. He's been a huge dick. No, he's been a great character, and you look at his arc from Batman adopting him to where he ends up. It's fantastic. I wasn't a big fan of the spy stuff when they did the whole he was undercover and everything. I read a little bit of it because it was Dick Grayson, but it wasn't for me. You know, I thought it was a little too changed up. You know, it wasn't really for me. So I was happy that like Rebirth really was about him accepting that he's Dick Grayson, and in order to be Dick Grayson, that means he's Nightwing, you know. And I don't know I can't remember who wrote the spy series, but it's kind of like, it wasn't a slight at them, but it was like, this is who I actually am, you know, and this is what I want to be. I want to be back to Nightwing. And it was a really good setup of his adventures. They introduced the Department of Owls, and he's going to go undercover. So Rebirth was a nice setup, but it didn't grab me, but it didn't push me away. It wasn't like, oh man. So like, I think you could read it if you're going to, if you're really interested in Nightwing, you'll like it, and you could read it. But you could start off. That's a good question, because some Rebirths, it's felt like you could start without it. Like, to me, the Wonder Woman one, the Rebirth was good, but you could have started at issue number 1. Where Flash, I feel like you need it. This one, I actually do feel like, even though it's kind of like, this one I probably would have gave like a 6.5, maybe a 7. I have to reread it, but I'd say 6.5, somewhere in there. I feel I'm comfortable with giving it that. But I feel like you still need to read it, because it was a good, nice arc about Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing again and setting up his adventures and saying what it's going to do next. So I'll move on to part 1, which is the actual issue I picked, was Nightwing part 1. Really enjoyed this issue. Really liked it. Really felt even within, like I said, I think it's the same team that did Rebirth and Writers. If not, I'm sorry. I could pull it up, but I don't want to waste any time. I can check next time. If it's the same team, then great. They really adapted quickly. If it's a new team, then they did a good job. But I really, really enjoyed it. I felt the biggest thing was the narration in this. That's how it starts too. It's just him narrating. He's telling his whole story, much like most of these Rebirths and these number 1 issues have. They've been good for reaffirming people who these characters are, or letting new readers know who these characters are, and things like that. Like, there's stuff like, and even setting the universe. Like, there's stuff like, for me, I didn't read every issue of, like I said, that Nightwing spy series, whatever they called it. I think it was just called Grayson, if I remember correctly. But it's like, it filled me in on that, you know. So I've liked that. It's just not like, okay, here's the story. It's like, here's a little backstory, here's where we're going. So that was good. They do that a lot. Dick Grayson, the narrative and the narration they wrote was really smooth, really good. And this is what the biggest thing that me stuck out, that the comedy and the comedic timing, it fit not only in the narration, but when he was talking later on with certain people. Like, he has a conversation with Barbara Gordon. We'll get to that. But it all felt very natural. It felt like Dick Grayson, where the first issue or the Rebirth didn't. So I was a little worried, but this one I read, I was like, oh, I was hooked in the first like 4 or 5 panels, and because comedy to me is really tough in comic books. It's one of the hardest, because it's not like a TV show. It's not like stand up. You don't have the audio. Like, most comedy is obviously all audio. Like, you look at stand up, that's primarily what it is. You can listen to a track on your phone. So sometimes in comic books, it can be a good line, but it can stick out as being cheesy. And like I said with the Rebirth, some of it felt a little too cartoony, you know, and it wasn't too bad, but that's just the vibe I got. And even with the comic, I got too vibe, where this felt fun yet serious at the same time. You know, even at one point, Dick Grayson's in a fight, and he's just kind of like, oh, come on, like stuff like that. Like, they do a good job. The fight gets more serious, trust me, but it's just, they do a good job with Dick Grayson. So that made me very hopeful. So this is it's a minor spoiler, but I guarantee you it probably says in the first page. I usually don't read the huge synopsis of like what's been happening, because if I'm reading them, I know. But Dick Grayson is pretty much undercover with the Court of Owls. If you don't know the Court of Owls, I'm not going to spend time talking about. Go read those. One of my favorite arcs of the past few years. And of course, there was found out that Dick Grayson's family had some lineage with the Court of Owls. If you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to get into it. You know it's a big thing. And if you don't, go back and read them. I don't even want to spoil it. Go back and read them. But anyways, Dick Grayson is now working undercover for the Owls. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into what he's having to do, whatnot. But I like that. It's a new twist on things. It's, and obviously he was doing a little bit of that with a spy. But him just being Nightwing makes it a whole lot better. And the Owls. The Court of Owls has become... I can't remember the last time. Maybe this will be a good comic book special one time we'll talk about. I'm not sure if I'll get Liam on it or just be myself. But other than the Owls, it's been a while since a villain has really stuck with both Marvel and DC. Because you got like... I'm just pulling one in the hat because we're talking Batman. But Professor Pig, he's stuck, but he's no way made that big impact. You know, like he's a fun side villain. People like him. I actually like him. I like his look. He looks different. But he's not been like... someone you don't want to mess with, you know, like it's the second you hear the Court of Owls or you see an image of a court owl or you see an actual owl, just anything to do with owls in the Batman universe, you take notice right away, like, oh damn, Court of Owls, these people are not to be messed with, they're not to be trifled with. But Professor Pig, you kind of know, like, you're kind of fun, you know, like Batman or Nightwing, they're not in much danger, you know, so yeah, I'm not going to sit and think about now because I don't want dead air. But yeah, that's let me know, actually, in the comments if you can think of anyone other than Court Owls that has stuck so big and made a big impact. I'm sure I'm missing one over the past few years. It's just hard to think of one that's just stuck so well between comics and this one. And now they're going to be in the Gotham show, which the Gotham show was, I don't know, people still watch it. I tried. It was awful. Same thing as Agent Shield, though. I tried, it was awful, and people say they got better. It's just tough when they don't grab you in the first season. I always like a good it's funny, if the first season is great and the show starts to decline, I can stick with it more because you're like, oh, I'm so invested. But if you never get invested, I'm out. So anyways, back to the Owls. Well, the undercover thing's really good. I'm a huge fan of the movie Departed, so it kind of gave me that sort of vibe, and I just like it, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. Talk about two more things. I still don't want to spoil it. This is one that I would pick up. I'd read if you're a Nightwing fan. Even if you're not, if you're a Batman fan, I think it's enjoyable. I think this is one where, like, I talked about last month with Wonder Woman one that I actually really liked it, but I feel like it's going to be better when you read the whole series or the whole arc together. Where this one... So I could see someone pick up the Wonder Woman one, reading and being like, it wasn't really for me, kind of slow, except like I guess the art in there is tremendous. I didn't put a Wonder Woman one in here, but she has Wonder Woman 3 with Cheetah this month, or I think it was this week when I'm recording this. Either way, it was phenomenal art, just beautiful. But I don't know if the average goer who's not a Wonder Woman fan would love it. Kind of seemed kind of anticlimactic. With this one, I think you could pick it up and know right away if you're going to like it or not. I feel like the tone is going to be like this the whole time. I'm hoping. Then again, I said that Rebirth wasn't like that, so... so the two other things I'd like to talk about is one, so these are two minor spoilers, so if you want to skip ahead a minute, go ahead, but they're very minor. They're just about scenes in the comic book. Batman and Nightwing, Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson have a scene together, and it's really good. Dick Grayson is going Bruce Wayne help with, like, he lays out what's going on. He says, hey, what should I do? And at first Bruce Wayne kind of comes off Dickie. He's like, stop asking me questions. And you're kind of like, okay, getting classic Dick Bruce Wayne, which I would have been fine with. But then they take this turn with Bruce that he starts telling him, like, you know what, I trust you to do what you're going to do. You're a man, you're Nightwing, like, you make your bed and you lay in. And not in a way of like, oh, he's expecting him to fail. It genuinely, and maybe he is, because Batman, you never know. But it genuinely felt like he was, you know what, I'm not your teacher anymore. You need to do this alone and figure it out. And Dick Grayson is kind of caught off guard that. He's like, oh, okay, sure. You know, like, he's kind of caught off guard. So he seemed like he was kind of like happy about it and happy that Batman can trust him, but a little off ease because at one point he has a conversation with Barbara too, and Barbara just kind of talks about how, like, Bruce is the one always getting him out of trouble. So it's this new sort of layer to the character of now, okay, I'm on my own. Bruce is funding him, of course, and everything like that, but he feels maybe more on his own. So that was good to see. And then there's a scene later on with Barbara and Dick together, and he's like, like I said, minor spoilers, he says to Damian Wayne, who's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go talk to Babs, and he's like, oh, is it a date? He's like, no, it's not a date. And then they're meeting on top of a bridge, and then Dick Grayson gets there, he's in regular street clothing, and he sees Barbara dressed up as Batgirl, and he's like, this isn't a date? And it was fun. It was a nice little, like I said, the humor in this was really good, really well timed and well placed, and then they have this good back and forth. Don't want to spoil it too much. It's definitely more maybe hinting towards a certain relationship between them again, and I'm always a fan of that. I've always said Batman and Catwoman's my favorite romance of all time because there's just lots of depth there, so many layers. If I made a top 5, Nightwing and Barbara would definitely be in there, or Barbara and Dick. I really like those two pairings. It's always made sense. Their story has always made sense. And I think I definitely held on to that because, like, you read it a little bit as a kid, but for me it was the animated series. The animated series did such a good job of making them a couple, and you bought it, you know? They both have their problems. They both have their reasons for being crime fighters. They're both holding a secret from one another for a while. And they're the same age. Like, there was just good parallels, you know? It just felt right. That's why anytime in the animated series, or cheap plug, go listen to our Killing Joke review. Anytime they've forced Batman and Barbara together, I don't like it. Someone has told me, like, oh yeah, it could make sense because Batman's reckless, and I do get that. It's not that I couldn't see it happening. It's just I don't want it to happen, and I kind of find it like a little gross. And it's not even the age thing. It's just the whole thing of like, Dick is kind of this like young brother, almost son to him, and he's sleeping with Barbara. You know, like I've never ever liked that, and I'll never get on board, no matter how well written it is. It's something that shouldn't happen, especially when you have the great couple of Dick and Barbara. You know, it's just they fit together to me like peanut butter and jam. They just go together so well. Writers always seem to get their chemistry down too, so I hope that's explored more. It ends in a good kind of cliffhanger, good ending. Very interested to see where it goes. It makes sense of the title of this issue, which is Better Than Batman, because at first when I read that, I'm like, oh, super fucking lame. It's like we've been here before. We've been where Dick Grayson has a fit, and like, I'm better than Bruce. I don't need Bruce. So at first when I read that, I'm like, fuck, like I don't need another like, you know, whiny like, fuck you, Batman. There's times for that, but I don't want his whole arc to be like, I'm gonna prove why I'm better than Batman, you know, because no one's better than Batman. Sorry to tell you, but no, the end really makes sense of that. Good cliffhanger. I'd give it an 8. You know, I really, really enjoyed it. For the, like, I guess, like, some of my answer, it's not a perfect 10. There's not too much that actually happens in here as far as action, and nothing too gripping and thrilling, which isn't a bad thing. But I think, like, for me, a 10 out of 10 comic book to preferences, because I'm not sure when it will happen, but will be something that has good character development and some action. Not even some action, just some form of energy put into it, some form of intensity, or some form of thrillerness, like something like that. Something where when there's a lot of conversations going on, it's good, but you don't really get any, like, you're not worried, you're not on the edge of your seat, where you're just reading like a good character thing. And that's why I've always liked reading stuff in a graphic novel, because you usually get all the best of both worlds. So, and I think I can't talk about now because it's months before, but I think they won the Civil War. I think honestly, the first issue of Civil War 2 was, I think, a 10, because it was just like, you got a shock, and like classic comic book, the cliffhanger twist, you know, like it's an 8. I'm trying to think of any more negatives. It's tough because, like, I'm giving it an 8 and I'm trying to think of like some negative stuff, but it's just like what screams out to me, you know? And 8 was like, you know what? That was pretty good or awesome, you know? Like, that was really good. Not enough to be a 9 or a 10. It didn't stick with me enough to be like, man, it was really good, but it didn't stick with me enough to be where I'm going to talk about for weeks. It's a way where I'm like, hey, you should check this out. If you're a Robin fan, you'll like it. So we'll move along. We spent enough time on Dick Grayson and the Bat family. Well, I shouldn't say that because we're sticking with Dick Grayson. Titans Rebirth, number 1 it was. I'm pretty sure I think it was Rebirth. This was a good one. This is another one I wanted to talk about because it's a number 1, so you could easily jump on at DC Rebirth number 1. Let me just check here just to make sure it's not an actual number 1 or whatnot. I read all my comics digitally, so let's see. Yeah, DC Universe Rebirth 1. So I think it's just the Rebirth issue. Anyways, the reason I read this, which is kind of funny, to be honest, I've never not liked Wally West, but I've never loved Wally West. It's just it's not even that, and I think a lot of people like Wally West. I just hadn't read enough. You know, I've read a lot of Barry Allen stuff, and that's the way I think I was always as a kid. I always liked the first, you know, I always liked Hal Jordan, except for Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was badass in the animated series, clouded my judgment a lot of, like, And lots of people, I'm like, I'd give him a break, but like Kyle Rayner or like Guy Gardner, I'm like, not my Green Lantern, But John Stewart and Hal Jordan, those totally are. So this never, like, indifferent Wally West, liked him enough, but never had a strong vibe. After DC Rebirth, I kind of fell in love with the character because of his struggle going through. I won't. I didn't want to spoil anything. You should read DC Rebirth. It's great. Either way, he's a little spoiler. It's been a couple months old. You should read it by now. If not, you should go read it. He was pretty much just like lost in time. He's just floating throughout time, just lost, stuck in the Speed Force. And throughout DC Rebirth, his struggle is he's trying to connect with people, and they just don't remember him. Until the end, Barry Allen does remember him, but they just don't remember him. Batman doesn't remember him. His love of his life, Linda Park doesn't remember him. Certain Titans don't. And it was really crushing. And the moment when him and Flash, when Barry Allen realizes him, it's a beautiful moment. And they harken back into this in this book, which was kind of weird because they made it look like they were about to kiss each other, which is fine. But like the original if you didn't know what happened in DC Rebirth, it kind of looked like they were a couple, to be honest. The way they're hugging and their faces were really close. So it was a little like, okay, like I would have changed the art a bit just because, like, not anything if he was gay, it's fine, but it was a little misconceiving a bit, to be honest, if you hadn't read it, in my opinion. If not, you'd let me know. But so I've really enjoyed the Wally West character. Not read much of Teen Titans. I've not seen Young Justice yet because people are saying how good it was. I never got around to watching it. I was just so busy. And then they put it on Netflix. I'm like, okay, in the queue. And then I went to go watch it. And I have Canadian Netflix, obviously, because I'm Canada. I went to go watch it, and they had 2 seasons on there, but then they just had the second season. So it's like, well, that's annoying. So I'm waiting to hopefully they put it back on there. I liked Teen Titans a bit as a kid, but it was never my thing because it was a thing of I was starting to get a little older when Teen Titans came out, and none of the characters. I liked Robin, kind of liked Raven, I kind of liked Cyborg, but the only reason I'd watch it was Robin. And I guess, and same thing as a kid when I said, like, I always liked the first guys. For sidekicks, at that point, I was kind of like, I don't give a shit about the sidekicks. I want to see Batman, stuff like that. So, so I'm pretty much new to the Titans. So like stuff like there's a character Lith/Omen. I don't really know who she is that much, and I'm getting into big DC lore right now. I've read a lot more of your mainstay people, but DC's the one, not that I know the least, but I've read the least between that and Marvel. Just because Marvel is always more characters I just kind of gravitate towards. But with this, I was like, and now that I'm older, I can buy stuff. As a kid, you get your hand-me-downs, you get some from your cousin, you get what your family gets you, and then you get a few. And then, like I said, other than Batman, I liked a lot more of the Marvel characters. So now that I'm older and I got a few bucks in the wall, I'd be like, okay, I really want to read about this. I really want to read about, other than Green Lantern and Flash, which were the other two I'd read. Like, I want to spread out more, and that's a good thing. Like, and I still feel like I'd read Justice League as well, and I picked Titans over Justice League just because it's a personal choice. I'm really liking the journey of Wally West, and yeah, I still feel like I know enough of the DC lore between Justice League and all the other comics I read, and the animated shows are so good for that. So it's not that I feel like I don't know of these characters, but it's just I didn't have a good enough grasp, and I wanted to get to know more of them, and I like Wally West. I want to continue journey, and that's what this comic does. If you like DC Rebirth, if you like Wally West, you're really going to like this. Right off the bat, I think this is like a 7.5 because it's good. It's a fun character piece, but not too much happens. It's just kind of fun. It's establishing, and that's where I think a lot of these ones that I've reviewed, they're all like 8.5 or under because they're a lot of just establishing the characters, establishing the storyline, getting to know certain people. So I don't think you can really get a 10/10. Civil War 2 was a lot different because it was not really establishing. You knew all these characters. So pretty much what it is I won't spoil it too much, but Omen/Lith, who, like I said, I didn't know that much about. Seemed like a good enough character. They're trying to figure out what happened. So if you read DC Rebirth, you know what happened. If not, a quick thing is they lost 10 years. Somebody took 10 years from them. I won't spoil it who it is in case you haven't read it because it's a good twist. But someone took 10 years, and that's what they're explaining was of how somebody messed up the timeline. So they're trying to figure out who it is. They're trying to read his mind. And there's a cute thing that they can't read his mind because all he's thinking about is the love of his life, Linda Park. I really like that because she saw him and didn't recognize him, and he's crushed by it, and it seems like he's playing off well in this comic. There's some good stuff with what is that? Let me look through. I forgot the Red Arrow's name there, which is, I don't understand how, because I actually watch Arrow and I do not like his character in the Arrow show. But let's see here. Arsenal, right? Fucking Arsenal. How did I forget that? It's so easy. It's not even Red Arrow. Arsenal, right? But there's some good action stuff with that. Like he's going and busting some criminals, so you get that. There's some stuff in there, but it's just little minor stuff. But the key to this comic is the pairing of all the Titans. They got good chemistry, or they're written to have good chemistry at least. It once again, it's like the Nightwing. It feels natural. It's a good team building one. Art's nice. Characters all are getting flushed out. If they haven't, it seems like they're gonna. They give Linda Park a little arc if she's gonna try and figure out who this guy is she saw. And then the ending, I won't spoil it, is like a nice little twist. Introduces a villain that I imagine is returning. I don't want to spoil it. I've heard of, I hadn't seen the villain before, but I didn't know what happened to him before. So I'm guessing the timeline kind of screwed it up. So this villain was maybe disappeared for a while or gone. Maybe they brought him in. Maybe he wasn't a villain. I swear I've seen this villain before, but I don't want to spoil it. I'll look into it more. Either way, the reveal of the villain, very, very nice. Actually, I'm gonna look. Okay, so yeah, he is a previous villain from the Flash universe, it looks like. So I'm just trying to find out if he was an. Okay. Yeah, so he was in Unlimited and Flashpoint. Flashpoint is where I think I remember him the most from, because I love Flashpoint so much. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it because it's a really fun reveal. I liked it. It was good seeing that. I like the villain. I like what he did. I think it's going to be a good setup for Titans. It's nothing, some major villain. You're like, oh man, the universe is going to end, but good enough where it's going to be lots of fun. So yeah, 7.5. I think most of these I think you should read. There's not one that, I think last month I did Dark Knight Returns where I felt like, a certain audience should read, but you really didn't need to. Or this one, if you're a fan of Titans, if you're a fan of Wally West, if you're a fan of Dick Grayson, I'd read it. I think it's going to have a lot to do with the main DC Rebirth post-universe of finding out who did it. Eventually, hopefully, there's a big crossover to explain who did it and why and everything. So, yeah, that was lots of fun. Good comic. I'm looking forward to Titans. Moving on to Marvel. Now, we're going to be talking Black Panther 4. Now, as I said at the beginning... Sorry, water break. As I said at the beginning, I try to pick ones that are a jumping on point. And this is not necessarily jumping on point, but it's kind of a calm before the storm. I would highly, highly recommend and suggest you go read 1 to 3. So I'm not going to spoil much. I'm just going to talk about bullet points of Black Panther. This has been super strong. The writer they chose for this, I can't remember his name. I'm going to write the writer's name next down mostly so I can get some credit out there. But he's known for being just a very, very good book writer, a novel writer outside. So it was a big deal when they brought him in. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. I just hope it's good. And it's been phenomenal. I just wanted to talk about Black Panther. Like I said, you should read the 1 to 3 first. Not going to get spoilers too much into it. Just some bullet points. The series so far has been pretty outstanding. Very, very well written. Very, very crisp. The biggest thing with this, I guess, to overall the whole 4. And the reason I picked this is because it seems like there's a calm before the storm. And the way it ends in a very kind of cliffhanger, really start of action of like, okay, it's on now. So that's why I wanted to pick this one, because I think next month it's going to be stuff that I don't want to talk about because it'd be too spoilery. But pretty much what it is, it's a big power struggle between the people of Wakanda. And Black Panther, who is trying to become... He is king, but he's trying to almost become king again in a way. He felt that he's lost control over his country. And I didn't read the previous one. Apparently Doom hijacked it or overran it and invaded their country and did a lot of damage. And it seems like the people of Wakanda have lost a lot of faith in T'Challa. So from 1 to 4, and I'm talking about this all 1 to 4. I'll talk about 4 specifically a little bit. I don't want to spoil it because it's so good. It's not even that there's big twists so far. It's just really strong writing and really strong comic book, and it's good to see Black Panther like being fleshed out like this. But it is a big power struggle. The people have lost kind of faith in them. And what are the girls called? Right, the Midnight Angels. So there's a group that is primarily women. I think they are still working with some men, but primarily women that are frustrated with how things are done, and they want to change. And pretty much what it's been described as is a revolution. And I guess to get specifically into 4, so a lot of stuff has happened so far. this Midnight Angels versus the people of Wakanda / T'Challa. Kind of war tactics, things like that. They want to change. T'Challa's trying to win the people back, gain people's trust back. Try to, like I said, he is king, but try to actually be king. With this comic, you get to see both sides. And you get to see how there's stuff that both sides have not prepared for. So there's one guy talking to the Midnight Angels of like, you don't understand. Like, we can go to war. This is very, like I said, the calm before the storm. 1 to 3 was a lot of leading up and events and whatnot. And this was like both sides reassuring, like, hey, you sure we're going to do this? And one thing I like that they go to the Midnight Angels, like, where you're not just dealing with Black Panther and some of his soldiers, like they bring up Storm as an example. They bring up how it seems like they kind of hint about like Avengers or the Ultimates or around the globe, how he does stuff to help the world. So they're like, he's not just one man and that has an army. He has a limited amount of resources, and if we go to war, you got to expect that some of those may come out. Where on the other side of the camp, where the first 3 issues, Black Panther and his group of people maybe felt like they were just a threat or a crime organization, or kind of just a way some people just like making a stir. Where one guy I can't remember who it is, but one guy points out to T'Challa that this, like, the way they're functioning, the Midnight Angels, and the way they're working, it's not just to cause trouble. It's like a revolution, and that they start now, T'Challa and some of his people are seeming to take this more seriously now. Like, hey, this isn't something minor that we're just like, oh yeah, we got to stop it. People are getting behind this. People are joining them. They're doing stuff. They want new laws. They want new this. Like, they are trying to revolt. And it was really good. You get a side of, or both sides of each camp, of the way they're operating, what they're thinking. And at one point, saying the Midnight Angels, when the guy that I was talking to him about before about Storm, they're saying, are you willing to kill children and old women to prove a point? Because that's what's going to happen. Like, the next step of you taking this is going to be, there's going to be, oh God, big brain fart. I can't, there's, when you see a word just right in front of you and you're reaching, it's like a dream and you're reaching, I can't remember. I'm sorry. There's consequences. My God, how long did I have to think before I could come up with the word consequences? He's saying there's going to be consequences if you do this, and now you're getting the point where it's kind of like the Django line where you have their curiosity, but now if you do this, you're gonna have their attention. He does not say that, but I just thought that was a good parallel to now. It's a big step. And at the end of this comic book, they do get T'Challa's attention in a big bad way, and the people of Wakanda. So it is going to really kick into hyperdrive. And that's why I want to talk about this one I just did. But I mean, like, why I wanted to signal issue 4. Because you could read it right now if you didn't want to read the first 3, or if you couldn't afford. You could read it, and they'll give you the backstory, and I think you could move on. But I think now is you definitely want to jump on, because it's gonna get a little nasty between the people of Wakanda. And there's a really good arc between him meaning T'Challa, and his mother, and they're talking about he wants to be king again, and he doesn't know what to do, and all this and everything like that. And his mother is just saying that you need to actually want to lead these people, because when his, spoilers in every comic book, his father dies, the crown is kind of thrusted upon him, and she says that the people of Wakanda have always got this sense that they're a burden to you, and they're a weight on your shoulders, and you are doing stuff because you have to, and they like doing stuff around the country or particularly because you have to. And she says that the best way to lead these people is to become one of them, to be like, do things because you want to, because this is your country, not because you have to, and not to see, because she says that's why people don't believe in him, is because since day one they've felt like a burden. So, and there's a really good panel, they have this good talk, and then he goes out and he's with the people of Wakanda, he's building those relationships. So not only, and that's why this I'd give a I think I'd give a 9, because if you like comic book, or you like action comic books, nothing happens action wise in this. It's all storytelling, and it's all character building, it's all setting up for the future, but it's so well done. And to me, I really like, my biggest thing with villains is why I always like seeing a reason. I've always said Joker's the exception, but because he's just like one of a kind. But most villains, you need a good reasoning, or you need a good story to really believe in them, and really understand why. And that's why you look at someone like why Loki works over like a Ronin. You know, you get more time with that character and the story is more believable. Yeah, Ronin in the movie is like, oh yeah, people, they are against my country, so I got to destroy them. But it's like they don't get to dive deep in. That's all. Like one line shouldn't explain that. You know, and that's why with Loki, yeah, you get that one line, but then you get more lines down the road, and yeah, he's had more films, but you get to flesh it out more. I don't like a villain that's like, I'm doing this because of this, and then they never talk about it again. It's just, hey, I'm going to destroy this country because of this guy kicked my rock, and that's it. Why did that rock mean so much to you? Why does, like same thing with Ronan and the Guardians. Why does this mean so much to you? Obviously, yes, it's your planet, but tell us why. Why do you feel it's wrong? But just one line doesn't suffice. Oh yeah, we believe you now. And that's why Loki's worked, and that's why these Midnight Angels are working. So far, 3 and now this 4th issue are really fleshing them out, and you see why they're doing these things. It's not just a clear cut, fuck T'Challa, we're gonna take over. They've had lots of struggles. They've gone through lots. They've been in prison. They've had to break out. And now, yeah, they're getting into the villain territory where they might have to start killing innocent people. But you can see that they're just looking at it as like, oh, this is a step we have to take if we want to be serious. So it's a fantastic comic. I'd give it a 9. Yeah, I'd give it a 9 because I would have gave it 9.5. Maybe a little action there would have helped. I don't know. Yeah, I'd give it a 9, because there are some stuff where it's a little slow, like Charles' mom has this conversation with the guy, which is good, because, it kind of leads to a little bit, but it could have been maybe a little shorter, but a 9. It is so damn good. It's great seeing the sides of both war, and T'Challa is getting this really good arc that I can't wait at the end of this, these issues and this storyline arc to see where he ends up, because it just feels like he's finally accepting being king, and I think he has in the comics before, but like in this iteration, so yeah, a 9 for that. Okay, now we're going to end it with 4 and 5. So 4, I picked Civil War 2 issue 3, and then for 5, I picked Civil War 2 issue 4. So my 5th, random, wild card one was Civil War, because I'm going to do very similar what I did with Black Panther, and talk about just an overall. I don't think this is a good jumping on point. It's just I haven't talked about it yet. I'm not going to talk about Civil War again until it ends. So I'll talk a little bit non-spoilery, and then I will switch over to spoilers. So this is one that you should read, or if you don't care, you can take a listen and you want to know, great, but I want to tell you why it's great. There's some bullet points, so this is a non-spoiler version. Civil War 2 has been fantastic. I've talked about it before. I think I recommended it on a Dynamic Duo Superhero News Roundup. I did not think I was going to like this sequels to, big storyline arcs. I love Civil War 1. Yeah, there's some issues, but I loved it. I read it when I was younger too, so it has that nostalgia for me, but I just love heroes fighting, and it was such a simple, great concept. Hey, we want you to register. No. Okay, you're going to go to prison. No, I'm not. Civil War. It was, as a kid, it was easily understandable. This one, I don't think has as good as Hook, but the Hook to me is still pretty damn good. I still like the first Hook a lot better, but so this is the non-spoilery. I'll tell you why you should read it, and then I'm going to get into some spoilers. So the main thing is there is a human that can see visions, and it's pretty much Minority Report meets Marvel Heroes. He can see visions, he can predict the future, and the whole dilemma is, so it's something like, I see Dr. Doom is going to kill this person. So, do you go and stop it? Do you go and stop Doom before he does this and save the innocent person's life? Or do you not do that, and it may or may not happen, because there's one vision where they ended up being extremely wrong, and it cost a lot of damage to the team. So it's this thing of he's having visions, but it's the same thing as Minority Report. Because in their vision they see, oh yeah, you're going to kill someone, but they haven't done it yet. So the issue is, should we take the law into our own hands and not even let people have a choice anymore? If this guy says he's guilty because of vision, do we just take it at face value? Yet we got to put him in prison because maybe we're gonna do this, but you haven't done it yet. And there's one good thing so far, they haven't answered, but this is a minor spoiler. But there's one time where they risk this normal citizen because there's a vision that she could be a terrorist of some sort or nothing. But then so far it's been she's just a normal lady. Who knows? I don't know yet. She could be more, but I would really like it to be just a normal lady, because it's yeah, look, you just arrested her. She's just a normal girl that works for the government, and you thought she was going to do something bad, and she's doing nothing, but because of this vision. So that's the conflict there. It's really well done, really good. Lots of characters in there. The issues, the issue, not the issue of the conflict, the issue they're having between each other is pretty pretty damn good. It's just lots of fun, and it's keeping me on the edge of my seat. It's one that usually lots of time I might wait a couple weeks, especially now. I'll make sure I read the ones I want to talk about at the end of the month, but this has been one that now I'm like, okay, I gotta read. I gotta get there. I gotta know what happens, and that's good. And I didn't think it would be like that. I thought, okay, I'll wait till the end of Civil War 2 and wait, but Captain Marvel's a great lead for her team. Tony Stark is great as always, so that is a non-spoiler. I would say both the issues are somewhere between the 8. They're kind of, yeah, I'd say kind of like 8.5-ish, somewhere in there. Yeah, so spoiler time now. So if you didn't read them, or if you don't want to hear, or if you don't mind hearing, whatever, like I said, I told you, spoilers are coming for the next few issues. If you're tuning out, thank you for listening. Check out next month. Check out Suicide Squad reviews coming out this week, coming out the Friday instead of the Thursday night. We're going to live stream it for the fans this time. We have live streamed a review before, so that'll be fun. So we're going to do it the Friday night. Should be lots of fun. Anyways, back to Civil War spoilers. So issue 3, issue 2 ended with this guy. Oh, what the fuck is his name? It's something hard to. Something really. It's like there's like a U and an L and a Y. I'm just gonna say I think I'm just gonna say the guy that. Let me go to and see what his name is so I can get it out for you. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like Frank. It's Ullysses. To me, it's one of these classic comic names that is like, I'm not going to know until there's like a movie or TV show, but it's like Ulysses, but we'll just call him Yule. You know what? What's up, Yule? We'll call him Yule. So Yule has this vision at the end of issue 2 that the Hulk is going to go berserk, Bruce Banner, and he has a vision that it is in one hand he's holding Tony, and one hand he's holding Captain Marvel. So, of course, and now it's getting to this point where his vision's spread throughout the people so they can see what he's seeing. So now of course, this is a big concern, so they both show up. Marvel and Iron Man to Bruce Banner's lab. And it's this awkwardness. Hey, what you doing here? And they have long conversations. I'm not going to go bullet point for bullet point. But anyway, so they bring him out, and their idea is to arrest him / contain him and whatnot. And he's getting very mad because he doesn't even know he's not done anything wrong. They won't answer him, everything like that. And then while he's arguing with them, and Tony and Marvel are kind of arguing because they're on opposing sides. Like I said, big spoilers. If you plan on reading this, turn back now, turn off now. There's your break. Bruce Banner is killed. Yeah, and obviously, yes, comic books, he'll be back at some point, but still, he's killed with an arrow right to the head. And that arrow is by Hawkeye. So what happens is, of course, you're in shock. They go to a panel of Hawkeye. He's in pure shock. Damn, I should have rated. I think I'd actually rate issue 3 a 9 and then issue 4 an 8. Because 9, I remember, was pretty emotional and had some really good moments. It gets really slow near the end, so that's definitely why it's not a 10. Like, near the end, it's just a lot of... They're important talking, but it just feels like that first half, everything happens, and the next half, not too much. But, so, eventually Hawkeye's brought to trial, and they talk to him. They talk, hey, how you doing? Oh, great, you just happened to kill the Hulk today? No, he's on trial, and they come to this conclusion, or like Hawkeye tells them that the reason that happened is because Bruce asked him. Anytime he is turning into the Hulk, or the next time, he wants him to take him out and kill him, and he doesn't want this to happen. And of course, like, he wasn't about to turn, blah, blah, blah. And then Hawkeye said, I could see it. And I think they have a photo of the incident or a video, or it's maybe just Hawkeye's vision, and he could see it. And he could see, like, there's a little green in the retina of his eye. Sorry, alarm for lunch. There's a little green in his retina showing that he's about to turn the Hulk. So he was about to turn the Hulk. They do have a flashback. Like, it's legit that Bruce actually asked him, hey, if this happens again, kill me. I don't want any damage. So it's all legit. So pretty much that happens, and they're all just waiting. A lot of talking between characters after. They're waiting for the trial. While this is going on, Tony Stark is experimenting on Yule. And he's trying to figure out, like, he wants to get more about these visions, find out what's happening, make sure they're real, whatever. So, and then it ends in a big cliffhanger of him and Mary Jane staring at the computer, just going, oh my god, what? So, like I said, the major stuff happens in the first half, and then it just slows down. Has a nice cliffhanger, because classic, that's why I hate and love comics. So I'm like, oh, like, I had to wait, like, a month or a couple weeks of, like, man, I want to know what's going on. So, like I said, that's a 9, really good, and then that leads into issue 4, which felt a little slower at the beginning, to be honest. It really, that's why I give it 8. The story and the character stuff is all still good, but so to break it down, I'm not gonna, like I said, break it scene by scene. So it starts with all the heroes finding out that Hawkeye has been acquitted. He's not going to jail. He's fine. Everything checks out, and there's a lot of talk. They show this great image of Miles Morales as Spider-Man. He's on a building, and he's looking down at all the people of New York, and he can hear all the conversations going on of people like, oh, he's guilty, oh, blah, blah, blah. So, all this, or, oh, yeah, he should have killed the Hulk. He's a danger, blah, blah, blah. So, all these conversations going on. So that was good to see. You see the ripple effect. You see the ripple effect between other heroes and whatnot. Even Iron Fist and Power Man this month. You got to see the ripple effect of or I think it was this month. Maybe it was last month. But you got to see the ripple effect of them dealing with it. That's what I do like. That it's not... There are spin-offs, but it's still just ricocheting throughout the universe. So that was a big thing. And then the other 2 big things were... Tony has now realized... Or not realized. Yeah, he realized, no. He looked into it and he found out using a lab and whatnot. And, anyways, he was doing tests, and he did tests on Yule. And he found out that these visions are not actually visions. What he is he absorbs everyone's energy. So I kind of took that as their thoughts and their likes and their dislikes and, what they love, what they hate. So we're all putting on energy up. He absorbs it. And what that does is he's not having visions. His brain is taking them and making a educated guess of what could happen. Now, and the thing that can go into this is he has been right before, but then he's also been wrong before. And the thing is, I can't remember who brings up the character or who brings it up. At one point, they're like, oh, well, what happens if he absorbs more energy? Does that make it more accurate? Does more information from people make these predictions or these visions more accurate, or does it just cloud it? So that's what this was good for, and that's why it's an 8. There's not too much action. It's very much like Black Panther 4. It's funny that they're both 4. It's a big setup to next week, and I'll tell you why in a second. But it's a big setup to, not next week, next issue. It's a huge setup. It draws the lines. It shows now for sure, because it is this thing of you did want the visions explained a bit more, because already I do feel like it is that thing of should we trust these visions? Shouldn't we? But this does add to Tony Stark's side a bit more of him just not being we don't want to trust these visions at all. They are a math equation. That's the way he pretty much explains it. He's just taking the best educated guess of because of this and this, Bruce Banner might turn into the Hulk, and that's the thing where he's coming from, where if Captain Marvel and Iron Man don't show up to take Bruce Banner away, does he even turn into the Hulk? Does he even get mad, or does he just sit in his lab and hang out, and that's the way he's taking it. It's happened to other people before. So I know we're trying to spoil this, but I don't want to spoil every major event in this comic book. But so that I really liked, of hitting it home, of giving Tony Stark's side, because I'm actually already on Tony Stark's side more. Yes, and then Captain Marvel does bring up a good thing, because he goes well, that means, I can't remember the exact line, but he pretty much just means let's say Thanos is about to attack, and he's we only know 10%, we can take, I don't know, I can't remember if he's talking about how many times he's been right or whatnot, but he's what if we could only take his visions at 10% value? That's pretty much what he was saying. These visions, we can only take 10% trust. And then Captain Marvel retorts with, if I even have a 10% chance that Thanos might be attacking Earth or something like that, I'm going to take that over 0. So that's a good thing. You do get to see her side fleshed out, and you do get it. And that's where, hey, tell me in the comments, I want to know. But that's where I still am on Tony's side of, I get it, it is a nice weapon, but it's they could be wrong. They may have done more good, or they may have done more bad than good. Yeah, he's helped, but it's there's the death of 2 other people so far. Sorry, a minute. Well, not death. There was big events that happened to those people, and there was the death of Bruce Banner. And it's yeah, we got to stop Thanos, or we got to stop some people, this and that, but it's would those people still be with us if we did it a different way? So that's where I am still on Tony's side. It is the Minority Report thing of do you arrest someone for possibly killing someone? I'd say no, because as in that movie you can see, and as in this comic you get to see that things change. So it pretty much just ends with back to that girl who was the regular girl with the briefcase, and there was nothing in it. They said something was gonna. They thought something bad was gonna be in this briefcase, and they're interrogating her. They're like, why is there nothing in a briefcase, huh? And she's like, I'm just swapping it. Like, I literally just bought a new briefcase, stuff like that. So she could be shady, and she could be, up to something. But as of right now, she's just a normal civilian. With Nightcrawler's help, Tony bamps her out of there, and then pretty much it's at this point where it's like they've been flirting with disaster and war, but they've always pulled it back. They have fought and had a little collisions so far, but it's always been like every issue has seemed like it's building, and it stops. For some reason, they kind of have a come to Jesus moment. They stop, they wait, they're like, okay, like we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And there's an issue. Like I said, there's one moment where like issue 2 ended with Captain Marvel at Bruce Banner's lab, and you're like, oh no, but then in the third issue it was revealed Iron Man's there too. So it's always like they build up a lot, and it's like, okay, and then the tension's brought back down. So you're like, okay, they're not going to fight yet. And obviously they're going to fight. It's Civil War, but you've been waiting for it, and I think they did a good job of making you wait for it. And then, yeah, in this one, I think they will for sure fight, because the issue, the front page or the cover of the next issue is just a bunch of the people all fighting, and it ends literally with Iron Man standing with a lot of people behind him, and Captain Marvel standing with a lot of people behind her. Literally like the original Civil War thing. Not as big, but just the lines have been drawn. And yeah, I'm looking very forward to it. I was going to not break down the teams, but I don't know. I feel that it's kind of funny. It's kind of like the Civil War movie on pay, or like once they start fighting, I'm sure it will be better. But like with Captain America's team, it seemed like his team was a lot not as stacked as Iron Man's, and once again, Iron Man's team seems like it's pretty stacked. Like even looking at, so like she has a lot of Inhumans, which makes sense, but I'm not too familiar with Inhumans, so I don't know all their powers. But like I think I see like Jean Grey is on her team. You got Storm, you got Bobby Drake, you got Black Panther, Dum Dum Dugan. But that's what I mean. Like even Dum Dum Dugan. Oh, you got Ant-Man there. I can see Ant-Man on Black Panther's shoulder. So, like, there's a couple, but, like listen to this. And that's the one thing, too, like, that does suck again if you don't read spin-offs, because it's like there's all these people that have joined Iron Man. You're kind of like, why? Like, you don't know. But, like, so like I said, even just those four, like Iron Man, Black Panther, Dum Dum Dugan, Bobby Drake, Storm, good roster, but maybe I should split up. But here's like Iron Man's team: Doctor Strange, Luke Cage, Miss Marvel, like Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, both Captain America. So you got Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and Steve Rogers. You got Vision. You got Miles Morales, Spider-Man. You got Nova. You got Thor. You got Cyclops. You got Apocalypse Boy. Like, it just seems a little, a little stacked on Iron Man's side. Of course, the comic book, they're gonna write them evenly. It always comes down that way. But it's that thing of like, and it is very much the Ultimates versus the Avengers. I get that, but that's the one thing where I'd say that the first Civil War comic does a bit better, where you'd have people felt like literally fighting their friends, where it seems like all the Avengers are pretty much still together on Iron Man's team. That's what I liked with the Civil War one. It's like you had all these people that you thought would agree and they don't agree, or they've had a change of heart, or you're seeing friends actually fight each other, and they're all friends, but it's like this is more just kind of like Ultimates versus Avengers in a way, with some friends, where when I did hear Civil War, I was interested to see like, okay, like, will they, and I like Iron Man and Cap being on the same team because they weren't before, but like I would like to see like Sam Wilson on Marvel's team and been like, hey Cap, like I don't agree with you here, but just a little minor thing. Like I said, give this one 8. It was a solid read. I'm really looking forward. I think 7 issues, so 3 more issues left. I won't talk about Civil War again until the ending, because I like to talk about the ending. So yeah, thank you for tuning in and listening to me jibber jabber about comics. Once again, if there's something you'd like me to read, let me know. Like I said, next month for sure is an All-Star Batman and Moon Knight, because Moon Knight's ending, and All-Star Batman, I'm so pumped, so excited. Like, Batman and Two-Face road trip, sign me up. Like, so you take all my money, so I'm very excited for that. So yeah, let me know if anyone's you want me to read. Let me know in the comments if you read these. Let me know anything. Like, and that's not just about this podcast. Any other podcast too with our GeekVerse. We got 5 shows, ladies and gentlemen, right now running. Got 5 shows running. We got the original GeekVerse, the flagship show every Saturday, hitting you. This week will be earlier if you're listening to this to the week this releases because of Suicide Squad. Got Dynamic Duo this show, all your comic book goodness, Netflix and fail. Every month we watch a movie that's failing on Netflix, see if it's actual fail. Rant, Rave, Repeat, just our kind of fun comedy show. You get to know some of the hosts of GeekVerse and all the other shows, and they're just random conversations, lots of fun. And then Geeks Creed, Taylor started that up. I don't think that he's doing an episode this month. It's bi-monthly, but it's for his Assassin's Creed page. He runs a page that's over 70,000 followers, and he's always trucking along. He has a big fan base. So if you like Assassin's Creed, check that out. But yeah, the biggest thing is this Friday. Check out our Suicide Squad review. I think it's gonna be interesting. I hope I can sit down and just say, guess what? I fucking love this movie. I love this movie so much. That's what I want. So, and yeah, we usually do it. It usually comes out super late on the Thursday. For multiple reasons, we're doing it Friday. We want as many people on the reviews as possible, and it just didn't fully work out with Thursday. We want to get we have enough, but we want everybody that really wants to talk about this movie on our podcast. So we're doing that Friday, and we thought we could have done it earlier Friday, but we're like, we want to live stream, because we do live stream. If you want to check out our squad review, we'll probably do a little non-spoiler one, get into a spoiler. We live stream majority of our GeekVerse episodes, so it's us. You get to see where we record. It's lots of fun. Obviously the podcast version is still great, but the YouTube version is definitely lots of fun. You get to see a lot of facial expressions. You get to see a lot of shenanigans on there. So check that out. Please check out our squad review. Check out everything. Rate, subscribe, review us on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, everywhere with the phone book. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, GeekVerse Podcast. Let us know about anything. Comment us. We love talking to our fans. So thank you very much for tuning into the top comic books of July 2016. Until next month, I promise you it will not be boring.